and never leave a meeting without having like, would you like to talk in the next 2 weeks? Like, oh, I'll book a time with you. No, well, I'm on here now. Let's get our calendars open. Let's just put a 15 minutes in. We could change it. It's all how you say it, but don't let someone off a call without having a next step, a concrete next step.
Step into the world of success with Your Brand Amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. I am thrilled to have Michael Falato of Full Throttle Falato Leads.
There you go.
So Michael and I are doing a very special event together in April where we're going to bring both of our expertise together to offer a session. So I will put information about that in the show notes. Of course, we'll be sharing it out over LinkedIn and everywhere else too. So I'm really thrilled, Michael, that you're able to join me today to talk about everything that you do. And I want to start with, you are a veteran. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
When I was looking at your very robust LinkedIn profile, every single role has been sales, account management, revenue, right? New business. So you have this breadth of experience that I don't think a lot of people bring to what you're doing today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of lead gen SDR companies that hire a bunch of kids out of the US or another country. That's the first job. So that's where you're trusting your messaging, your subject matter expertise too. And then they're really good. They're going to want to be an AE in 6 to 12 months. So what I look at is what's repeatable and scalable to build your top of funnel for someone that is going to use automation to open the top of funnel. Use humans to basically teach why they should use you, right? And learn and ask investigative questions. So automating top of funnel with the right messaging, like, hey, I want you to be on a podcast. I want you to be on a roundtable. I want to meet you at event 2.0 in Vegas. Use anchors. Fish where people fish. And that's what I do is basically build 20 to 30 sales qualified meetings into your 30-day stretch without having to hire 10 SDRs and half of them don't work out and half of them want to be promoted in 6 months.
Yeah. And I can attest to, I've tried hiring somebody when I was first starting my PR business, where they're a company in Australia. They had a really good mission of helping women in the Philippines and other countries get training and become, great call center lead generator folks. But the problem was there was just such a lack of communication and messaging. I'm like, this person isn't going to sell my offer appropriately. And then I also seen people just advertise, on social media, hey, I'm training people to do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, again, they don't know the business. They're green. I've spoken to some of those people when they try to pitch me on sales calls, and it just does not hit the same way.
They're reading a card.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, kudos to people who that is the path they want to pursue. But for somebody who has been in business, who really wants to make sales and genuinely connect with the right people, that ain't it. So
First impressions.
Yeah.
It's important. The first impressions is they don't understand the language. They have a very heavy accent and they're basically just trying to get a meeting with me without caring what I really do. So best thing to do is automate that approach and don't sell, but talk about what bothers them, what keeps them up at night by doing something that is even like this podcast is a great way of kind of building your own lead gen for yourself. You should be doing some sort of interviewing people either on a roundtable, mastermind, TEDx talk or podcast. That's how you get to know what's going on without making it all about you.
Yes, that's such a great point. And it's funny, I was at an AI conference last week, and one of the people who spoke was talking about the people you really want to connect with. And podcast hosts was one of the 3 categories that he mentioned.
Yeah.
It is great because somebody else is saying that you're an expert in what you say you're an expert in. You get a lot of pieces of content for marketing purposes and promotional purposes. And again, that other person is saying that you are a thought leader in your field. So I love meeting people also selfishly. Like, this podcast isn't necessarily, I didn't create it to be a lead gen tool, but the people I've met are truly amazing, so high quality, and people I can go to say, hey, do you know anybody who needs XYZ? Please introduce us. Or I can also take leads to them because we've now built that rapport. How did you get to the point where you decided, let's launch, your own business and use all the expertise that you've built up and specifically focused on email and LinkedIn automations?
I was working at a company that did IT support and staffing, kind of like a Geek Squad on demand, but for businesses. And I had to build their whole top of funnel go to market strategy. And I'm like, okay, they want me to start my own LLC to basically hire my kids just to press buttons all day. Learn that I can automate this all. And I really don't need my kids to press buttons all day, which wasn't a good thing because they lost some money there. But I turned them into more of a strategic person for what they do, which is answer messaging versus sending out messaging. And so I built that company within another company just because they didn't want to pay me direct. So on accident, I built this and I'm like, wait, I'm already doing this. I'm getting really good results. So I did this in 2 months. I brought in 12 to 15,000 a month. I'm like, all right, I can make that easily as a person that works for somebody. So why not do this on my own and do this, 50 to 80,000 a month. So that's where I built this to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. So one of the things that really intrigued me was the fact that you have access to 1 billion contacts and that you have the capacity to safely send over 20,000 emails and 10,000 LinkedIn activities per month for lead gen. And is that per client?
It's 20 to 30,000 emails per client. And then on each LinkedIn profile is about 4,500 a month.
Nice.
So I could send 50,000 LinkedIn messaging and connections and activities a month, but it depends on how many profiles I'm automating. And LinkedIn always changes and they always have, hey, are you using automation? So you gotta be very, very careful, but you got to make it about them. And if you do a sales pitch and pitch slap people on LinkedIn, you'll get banned.
Interesting. Yeah.
A lot of tech to prevent you from doing too much spamish material on LinkedIn, which is good.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I've tried using a couple of automations on LinkedIn and I love the connections, but then you have to nurture each of those connections because the automation to me only takes it so far. I'm handling it myself. I'm not using an admin to handle my LinkedIn,
Business dating. That's what I call it, business dating.
Yeah, it is completely. And then you have to find time on both of your calendars to then, get off of LinkedIn, have the conversation, which you and I actually did pretty quickly.
Yeah. This is a perfect example of my automation working with you. And because we're similar approaches in life, we decided to team up versus sell each other right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So you're doing a podcast and you're going to join, we're going to do a roundtable together and basically cross stream our connections and relationships and see if we can help each other.
Yeah.
That's a great way of doing it. But obviously what my end goal is to be hired as a retain based and have that work. So most of the time it's anybody that's in the seed to Series A or Series B round that just got money and said, hey, we got to grow this thing. But I work with older companies and newer companies that have budgets too. And some that are bigger companies will say, I can't, they're not going to let you touch the email side of things, but we can automate our sales team and our SDRs and good, let's go. Because if you're doing that, you're not doing your job. You're doing very tactical things that are not strategic. Let me tactically get doors open, and then you strategically talk to them about what's going to help them based on what you hear from them. Now, what base do you think you should hear from them? You got to talk to them.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to discover each individual pain point because everybody has a slightly different take on what that is.
And this doesn't mean just to be about leads. It could be, you mentioned people that are trying to sell their businesses. So we can automate outreach to, hey, I want to raise money. I want to sell my company. I'm looking for a VP of sales. Communication at its core is what I do. So it doesn't just have to be lead generation.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I was going to ask about emails because, email marketing has changed a lot in terms of, will your email even be served?
Delivered.
Yeah.
My sendability and deliverability is 90% plus. I use SendGrid to send out the emails. I have an email engineer that sets up the DKIM, the DMARC, the SPF, the MX records. Most people don't even know what that is. So you have to have the right setup. You got to have other domains. If you're using your domain to send emails, especially through Outreach or Apollo or any other, or HubSpot, you're going to break your domain. And you got to have clean the data before it gets sent out. You got to make sure the email is something about something that helps them. Because you can have great sendability and domain reputation, but if you're sending crap, which is marketing material to people, they're going to space out. So there's a lot of variables that make sure that things get delivered, make sure that things get clicked on. Just because they get clicked on doesn't mean, or open doesn't mean that they got actually really clicked on. Or the reply rates and the bookings of the appointments is what really counts. And then everybody's going to say, well, I got that, and that. Did I get ROI? Did I close any of those deals? And that's out of my hands. But, most people can't do what I do at the level that I do it and do it right. So I just say, listen, you can hire an SDR at $5,000 a month. You have commissions, bonuses, unemployment, Social Security. As you have to manage that person, which is usually a kid. And then if they're really good, you got to turn them into AE, which is a great path. But now you have no lead gen. No matter what you do, you should automate and have an expert at automation helping, whether you have an SDR or not, whether you have AEs or not. It's just, you're never going to keep someone that's good doing it, and then you're going to fire, and your percentage of someone that's good at doing it is very low. Or maybe they're good and they're not, but you don't give them the right tools. You haven't failed enough to know what you're supposed to do. I have. Yeah. That's why I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I've gotten tapped, choked, submitted enough times to say I've done it wrong, that I've done it right. Same thing in sales. I'm an expert in sales. I've been doing it enough where I've lost enough. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. Same thing with life. It's like even Tom Brady. It's like, what do I remember? I remember my losses. I don't remember my Super Bowls. It made me learn how to do something different.
Yeah.
And it's a stupid remark until you think about it. And you're like, it's not a stupid remark. It's actually what drives most people. Is like, I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is one of those experiences that you had that was a loss in business that you then were able to look at and say, okay, here's how I need to course correct?
I think I was probably too aggressive. Like when someone said, like, send me a statement of work, and then I wasn't hearing from them, then I would just kind of call or email or just try to get a hold of them so much because I am so impatient. So I think I've learned to be more patient and the older I get. And, whether I make 40,000 a month or 100,000 a month, I'm going to be okay. It's just, you go down 20,000 a month sometimes because, people at Legion, they don't necessarily stay for 2 to 3 years. I have those clients, but most people get so impatient and anxious that every month should be great. It's not, go see how it is with the salesperson. They're had on and off months.
Yeah.
And I don't control that. I control the outreach. So it's a little, you got to manage expectations and KPIs and make sure that you're understanding what they're measuring you by. That was one of them. And just learning the best question I think to ask when you get on a call is, so what brought you to the table today? You booked the time, Anika. What drove you to even book a time with them? And just be quiet. So that was the best thing I learned over the last 5 years. Just a great opening line that really kind of sets the tone, but it makes them talk about themselves without them feeling like they're being grilled. Open-ended question, like how many appointments you're getting now? Like if you just fire at them like a investigator, then they're going to close out.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to email automation, there are limitations with Google and Yahoo. You mentioned all of the different things that you have to make sure that you're, DMARC and all of the other things that you have to make sure that your company is up to date on. And then, there's those issues. And then there's also emails that convert. And I've spoken, I've had a number of copywriters, but I don't know that anybody I've had on for lead gen has actually talked about, here's how we structure the emails to make sure that we're sending the right message to the right person.
Yeah, well, make sure that the people that are feeling the pain, like if you look at recruiting, you're not going to go after the CHRO, who's the head of HR. You're going to go after the recruiter. And if you really want to go after the person feeling the pain, it's the person they're recruiting for, which could be a VP of sales that's looking for a salesperson. So that's who you want to go after. But you want to go to 4 to 5 deep the people higher and lower in the same level to make sure that you spread the word of who you are. The messaging should be also be, hey, I'm going to be at an event. I saw that you registered on LinkedIn for an event, or I'm doing my own event. Make it something about that. We want you to be a guest, or we want you to be on your podcast. That's why the podcast or the roundtable is the best way of going about it. By the way, I do lead gen or this, and that. Here's my calendar. Always say, here's my calendar, or can you send me yours? Versus here's my calendar, because people get annoyed by that. You got to be mom taught you to talk a certain way and ask a certain way the question. Think about how that is and how you ask somebody. Approach someone with, how do you think you like to be approached? And there's people that are very sensitive for you to send them your calendar. Expect them to fill it out. So I learned that. That was a big lesson.
Wow.
I had a pretty snippy person about that. Like, you want me to fill this out and you're selling me? I'm like, I'm making it easy, but I had to turn my head around and go, you know what? Now I don't like someone sending me their calendar sometimes. I'm like, you're trying to sell me, you want me to fill this out? I had someone send me a calendar with 15 questions on it. I'm like, I'm probably filling this out.
Yeah.
No, keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know? So did I answer your question? I forgot what it was there.
Yeah, it's part of it. But then also, what do people need to think about to make sure that they have the right certifications to ensure deliverability?
Yeah. So using a SendGrid account is important. You set up your own static IP address, not SendGrids, where they share it amongst other clients, because that will screw it up. Specific messaging to specific people based on their persona and their industry, and make it about them. Keep it short, but don't make it short enough. Don't say, bring this back up to your top of your mailbox. That's, people get annoyed like that. Hope this email finds you well. Annoying. You just got to think about who cares, so what, why are you telling me this, who have you done this for, and how does this help me keep my job? Talk here. I had it heart and mind, then you'll get someone to engage. But if it's like, I do this, we do that, we are the best in this, here's our bullet points, it's going to look like a marketing sales email, and no one wants to be sold. And that's when you start to really ruin your domain. Even if you get a separate domain, you're going to break it if you don't do what I'm telling you.
Wow.
There's so many things that you shouldn't do and try on your own, and people do it because they think it's like, okay, you're the CEO, you're building a podcast company, but you want to be a really good lead gen automation expert. That's not coexist with me trying to do what you do. I can't do what you do unless I put another 85% into it. I've already touched on it with doing my roundtables, but I'm not a podcast expert.
Yeah.
Nor do I have 100,000 people listening or downloading my podcast. I mean, I would love for that to happen. I don't have a lot of content digested besides what I do in the roundtables. What you do and how it goes around and gets put out there and has distribution, that's something I don't do very well. I'm more about one-to-one to one-to-one, and I need both. There's not an end-all be-all for any of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but I really like what you said about, because I get so many email newsletters every single day, and then all my important emails are pushed down. Not to say that there's not a newsletter that sometimes piques my interest, but a lot of them are storytelling. They are salesy. Maybe it's a 5 email sequence where it's just sell.
Yeah,
Create this feeling of, you're
5
you
emails,
miss out. Yeah.
5 emails too much. They're not going to answer you after 3. Stop. Let it sit. Let it rest.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel authentic to me either. For me as somebody, who would send an email, but also me as a receiver and potential client or customer.
Yeah, go look at all these events that you would go to, and even if you're not going to it, and you're going to go to HR Tech in May in Vegas, I would love to meet with you, even if you're not going. If you get enough meetings, you're going to go. If not, hey, otherwise, let's have a virtual cup of coffee before or after the show. I mean, you should be thinking about all these things that make it personable. But if you say, hey, I'm going to buy this AI platform, and I'm going to say, I see that your brand amplified is what you do, and it starts to get so cute on the AI that it thinks it knows you, and then it states something wrong. Now it looks like an AI.
Yeah.
So to me, it's, you could get too cute with this stuff and try to really pull back your history on LinkedIn or what you've done, and I could personally tell that it's AI driven, and I'd rather make it something like, yeah, I don't know, are you going to Dreamforce in San Francisco? Because I'm probably gonna be there, and I would love to chat with you. Here's my calendar. Send me yours. By the way, I'm doing a roundtable around Salesforce and CRM, and would love for you to be one of my special guests.
Nice.
What about that message sounds canned or salesy? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
No.
Well, let's talk about the content because obviously the world of AI, automations, there's a lot that people can do, but you still need the human strategy, the human brain behind all of it. Because what is AI except a culmination of everything, the average of everything that's been put in from human existence of words, images, videos, on the
Yeah.
web, on the internet. So you do talk about using AI tools effectively for content creation to make sure that they're really honed in messages versus,
Yeah.
create a sequence for me and then you just get whatever generic thing
It's
comes out.
horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible. You want to say you want to talk to AI and chat GPT like a third grader. Tell me like a third grader why I should buy and listen to Anika's approach on podcasting. Use passion and compassion and emotional wording. Also explain why podcasts in general is going to help someone benefit from their brand and get meetings, and use some colloquialisms about Star Wars because I'm saying this to CTOs. If you actually be that prescriptive in your messaging to Gemini or ChatGPT, then it's going to come up something really good. They can pare it down. Never take what you get and do that. Just send it out. The second message is, hey, I don't know if you viewed the roundtable agenda, but I would love to have you still come. Versus, hey, I bring this back up to the top of your email. Third one is, hey, I don't know if this email's getting delivered to you or not. I'll probably try you back in 2 weeks just to make sure. So I'm going to annoy you again if you don't say yes or no. No answers is not acceptable. Either say yes, no, or let's go, because I don't know if it's being delivered. That's what I use.
Yeah.
So that should be your 3 emails.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another one could be something around an event.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go to an event and you register, you could scrape that event with a Chrome extension, take those first name, last names, and company, enrich them in the platforms that I use, and then send an email LinkedIn to them. On LinkedIn, you can say a 10 and then scrape those events. You can also use the platform that looks for open profiles, or you're in a group on LinkedIn and you can send free emails.
Okay.
Again, no one would know this or know how to do it or know how to do it without getting LinkedIn in trouble. So,
well, I was going to ask you about groups and events as anchors, because you do roundtables and it's been a successful mechanism for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually stopped doing them on LinkedIn for registration purposes because people could scrape my list.
Oh.
And it was a pain to do one where you could see the contacts and then you couldn't repeat. So I changed for registration to Eventbrite, which is okay for a monthly one. And I still use kind of a Google form for a one-off.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah. And then I share that spreadsheet, Google sheet with my friend or client so they can see it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's talk about thought leadership, mastermind events. So are you using your own system to find the right people on LinkedIn to invite?
Yeah.
I also know I belong to a ton of groups on LinkedIn. And to be perfectly blunt, I don't even have time to check my multiple email addresses for the different things that I do every day and get through them, completely. Because I do get so many pitches to be on a podcast. I probably get 20 to 30 pitches a day alone.
Yeah, I get a lot of podcasts. It's like lead gen.
Yeah.
My podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to hire a virtual assistant to help get through some of that. Because I'm always nervous about things getting missed, but my virtual assistants are actually my kids who are 19 and 21, and they're here, and they go through, I have 15 accounts on LinkedIn of people that are friends of theirs that I use their LinkedIn to automate, and they are considered marketing people for me. Mm-hmm. So I have way more than 5,000 activities going out a month, of some that I don't know if they're full time with me, but I'm using their LinkedIn. I'm building their LinkedIn up while they're going to school.
Yeah.
And a good looking
Amazing.
face always works well on LinkedIn. And I'm basically not hiring them at 60,000 a year for every person I'm trying to do that for. So I have a way better tool and system to do this and automate it without having to make 10 hires.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So talk about groups because I don't know that everybody is using them to the full capacity that they should be, including myself.
Yeah. Well, there's 100 groups limit. So you should do that. And obviously go where your people that you want to sell are hanging out, not necessarily your title. That's good for your title, but if those are not your end clients, then why are you joining all those groups? And then if you use a tool like I do, you would basically send them free emails. There's a certain amount of emails you could send for free on groups.
Right.
And then if you post on groups, that's not a bad thing either. I just don't think a lot of people go to groups and read the post as much as they would if I sent them a one-to-one message.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a numbers game in sales and outreach. You don't just do one thing.
So people can come to a free mastermind roundtable. They can get a lot of great information from you.
Yeah.
You talked about the kinds of companies that you typically work with. So there are people who already have funding. So, do you have packages? What does that look like?
I basically charge anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 a month. I just do LinkedIn, which is about 2 profiles for 3,000. If you want to do LinkedIn, email, and roundtables, that's around 5,000. I automate 2 profiles. But yeah, I usually don't get involved in something lower than that because it's time is money. And sometimes the lower the cost, the more the work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someone's like a solopreneur and very nervous about spending money, it's not a good client for me because it does take time. And it does require that you understand that automation you should be doing or I should be doing. I can mow my own grass and I don't. I hire people to do it. I don't want to spend my time doing manual things where I know I could automate and make more money on. So there's a lot of people that are engineering driven, STEM driven. Have no clue what they're doing on leads. So you want to stay your lane and grow your company the way you know how to grow your company. But if you want to do everything yourself, you are the hinge that's not working well. You are the roadblock.
Yes, you are.
They'll tell you that in every VC. It's like founder led for a little bit, but you got to trust people at this point. I trust some people, but I mostly trust a bot not to complain or be aggravated or get emotional.
Yeah. Well, you've given some good tips for people to consider, but I 100% agree with you. We are the bottlenecks in our businesses. We can't do everything. I do have admins helping with certain things. I haven't turned my email inbox over, but that's definitely something I have to think about in the near future. Michael, any last thoughts about, beyond, of course, we're going to invite everybody to our roundtable that is going to happen in a little less than a month from when we're recording this.
I have one that I do every first Wednesday of the month.
First Wednesday.
That's on this next one. It would be April 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be May 7th.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 that are coming up. Yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, fantastic. Any last word of wisdom that you want to share with us?
I spend more time closing than hunting. Fish where people fish. That's a good one. And, always be asking questions, not always be closing.
Yeah. Nice.
Go 3 deep in a question. So, tell me you did this. Why? Who? When? What have you done in the past? Ask people what works, what hasn't worked. Learn from their errors and their wins.
Yeah.
So that's I would just say, just be natural, inquisitive, which would make you more of like a doctor or lawyer, right? Of like getting all the things, and then be more like the lawyer at the end, where you're like, close it down, bring it to the end. And never leave a meeting without having like, would you like to talk in the next 2 weeks? Like, oh, I'll book a time with you. No, well, I'm on here now. Let's get our calendars open. Let's just put a 15 minutes in. We could change it. It's all how you say it, but don't let someone off a call without having a next step, a concrete next step.
Yeah. Fantastic. Last question. Do you have a favorite quote, mantra, verse, poem, family motto that continues to inspire you every day?
I liked one from a teacher that I had. The only dumb question is the one not asked. So that was a good one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes really well with everything else you've shared with us today.
In the Air Force, leave, follow, or get out of the way. You know? So be assertive, but be kind and pay it forward, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
fantastic. Well, thank you again, Michael Falato, Full Throttle Falato Leads. We'll have everything in the show notes for everybody to find out more about working with you, your roundtable discussions, one-on-ones, and looking forward to our roundtable.
Me too. And always try to hire a veteran.
Yes.
Yes.
Love that. All
God
right.
bless everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you to everybody who's listening to this episode or watching it. Don't forget to leave us a rating review. Check out the show notes to get the information about our upcoming roundtable discussion that we're inviting all of you to. And with that, have a great day, and I'll see you again really soon. Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbrandamplified.com.